Hello and welcome everybody to the first episode of the Ramblers Ready podcast. It's been something we've been trying to work out for a little while here. Season's obviously ongoing. It's been a pretty whirlwind one to start off over here, but you got myself, Haris, the communications director at the Mississauga Ramblers, and also a member of the Mississauga Ramblers since the year 2000, which feels like it's a crazy, crazy journey at this point, 24 years with the club. But I'm not the only one that is very much like that. There are lots and lots of members that we've had from near the infancy of the club. As you can see at the top here, since 1966, the Mississauga Ramblers have been around, and there are a lot of stories for us to be able to tell, all the way from our amazing masters who are players who have been with the club for 10, 20, 30, if not 40 plus years at this point, all the way up until our senior teams, which is where we are going to be focusing here. So the whole idea of the Ramblers Ready podcast is for people to get a little bit more kind of involved with not only what's happening within the Mississauga Ramblers itself, but also the season as a whole, being able to share some of those amazing Mississauga Ramblers stories with you, but also to introduce you to some of the amazing personalities that make up the club that we have here and the club that many of us feel is like a second family for us. I want to thank Arjun, our guest today, who is going to be joining us on the first episode of the podcast over here. Arjun, who is our elite captain this year. Arjun, I'll let you introduce a little bit about yourself. How, first of all, how's it going? But secondly, how are things as far as not only the Mississauga Ramblers go, but just a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Harris. First, I want to take the opportunity to say that I think that what we're doing here with Ramblers is very cool. I don't think I see many other teams doing anything like this. So it's cool to kind of be a part of a team or a part of an organization that is like willing to showcase and kind of put out content that is available and accessible for everybody to see. So that's first and foremost. Yeah, so I would probably start right off with how the season's going because it's very fresh. Season's going well, especially for the elite side. Right now we're already 6 games in, so a third of our season is already done, which sounds crazy because we just started June. But yeah, we're sitting 4-2. Ideally, obviously, we would always love to be 6-0, but unfortunately, that's not how always everything goes. But still, very happy with a 4-2 record. I think there's certain things that we just need to clean up, and certain things that we're doing very well that we didn't do last year. But yeah, very, very happy with the way the guys are putting in the work and the results that are coming.
Oh, love it. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been a great start overall for the elite team. And you mentioned, after last season went on, the preparation and everything that was there to basically come back, because obviously, the elite team and the elite level of play is about one level below where is the absolute top when it gets to TDCA, obviously the Super 9 level over there. And, for yourselves being basically one game away. And in fact, in a game that was probably going right down to the wire to be able to get us right back into that Super 9 contention. And I mean, speak a little bit about that, some of the disappointment that you would have felt, obviously kind of missing out on where you had there, but really how you kept not only yourself, but all of your team together to make that hopefully a better result this year.
Yeah, obviously heartbreaking, especially since a couple of years ago we did have a Super 9 team. So a lot of the guys, part of that main core that were part of that S9 team, had to essentially take that tough pill and understand that we're no longer playing at the top division. And not just Toronto. I think that I can easily say with the amount of cricket that I played as well, S9 is the best level of cricket in Canada. And there's no comparison to any other league within even in Ontario. The talent that is there are guys who play professionally and they play very, very good level cricket. You're starting to see some of these guys on the national team as well. But yeah, going down from S9, that was the big punch to the stomach. I kind of put my hand up and seeing the direction in which the club was going, especially for the top division, I felt like we were losing a little bit of an identity. For me, I come from a club, Brampton Masters and Transac, where I don't think that I had a losing season. My first 2 seasons were losing seasons, and then for the 8 seasons after that, I don't think we never had a losing record. My first 3-4 years in Ramblers, I can't think of us even going 500. So it was a very big of a shock for me to come into an organization that is not necessarily we're looking to lose. It was just that we got very comfortable with losing. And for me, I'm like, I've never been used to that like mentality. And so I put my hand up and I was like, you know what? If I feel like there is a change that's needed, it's got to start from me. And so I put my name in the hat for captaincy. So selection with admin and all of that took place, and then they essentially awarded me the position for a captain for Elite. The goal for everybody was to get back into S9, especially since we do feel like we have a lot of capable players that can play at the Super 9 level. Like Jeet Mehta, who's represented Canada. Like myself as well, played at a very high level. You got a lot of good young players also coming up, like Sanchez at the time, all who have inspiring dreams to play at a higher level. But, at the end of the day, it's not just about what you want. It's about how much you're willing to put in to get the results that you want. And so from there, we kind of understood, okay, we're going down a division. We lost, to be honest, a good chunk of our top level talent from that year, and then the year after that. But again, you just got to rebuild. You gotta put things together as they fall, and you got to go from there. So the goal from last year was to get into S9, and everybody was on the same page. Season actually started off very tough for us. I think we won the first 2 games, and we felt like we were sitting right at top of the world. And then we ended up, I think, 3-4. And then I had a conversation with the guys about like what kind of identity, again, of a team do we want to have? Because we were talking about changing the narrative and changing the mentality, and then we were back to a losing record. After that conversation, after those moments that we had as a team, we won 8 straight. That's including our quarterfinal game going straight into the semis, where in most sports, if you win a semi, you go play a final. But the way that our structure was set up is that whoever had won that semifinal game was going to get promoted, because the other finalist team already had a team in the top division. Right. So we knew that semifinal was not a semifinal. It was a final. That game in itself, still very fresh in my mind too. But the guys played very, very hard. We played a very good team, and we lost in the last over. So as down to the wire as you can probably ever get it. But last year gave me a lot of hope that there is talent in the club, and the hunger in the club to do better. So again, huge blow to not get S9. We actually were in conversations with a lot of other players who were looking for us to get promoted into S9 as well, and they were looking to change clubs because they could see what we were building here at the Ramblers.
Right.
And unfortunately it didn't happen. But again, you take the punches as they come, and then you regroup when you have time to regroup. And so that's kind of what we did this offseason. Something that I don't think that has been done since I've been here for the last 5 years, which was like a second practice specifically for the top division guys. Mm-hmm. So I basically worked with admin and worked with management to get a second day for us to just practice. And I think that has been a huge help. Just the consecutive amount of reps that you can get at that top level is what gets you just better. It's a very simple formula. The more work you put in, the better outcome is going to end up happening. It might not happen right away, but you will get a better outcome. And it's just, at the end of the day, the formula is very simple. And that's where it started. Most clubs don't start till January, and this specialty program, I hate high performance because it's like such a buzzword. But it was essentially like the mindset of these practices were to be very intense, were to be very carefully calculated on what we need to be doing and how we need to be getting better. So that started in October. So we were a couple of months ahead of the curve already, and it's good. We just continue that mindset and that regiment of like coming twice a week to practice and like making sure the things that we need to be doing are getting done. And then by the time the season rolls around, we'll be in very good physical condition as well as in good playing condition as well. And so that's why just going into the season, I was very confident that we would be one of the better teams in the division. Mm-hmm. I don't think that, and I hope nobody on my team as well is thinking that just because we are sitting top of the conference, we're the best team in the division, because there are a lot of very good teams. Us already losing 2 games should be a good indication that we are playing some really good teams. Yeah. So it's not going to be a cakewalk. Just because we got to the semis last year doesn't mean we're slotted in there for another semifinal performance again. So I'm very, very optimistic. I'm very excited to see how the rest of the season folds out. There's a couple of guys on the team that I'm also very excited for. Some younger guys that truly have a lot of talent that just needed to get cultivated, and then they're at a stage now where they can show it. Two big shout outs would probably be, actually I'll give three. Vedant Dave has been unbelievable. Just a very athletic kid, but just he's taken a huge step in his game. Vedant would be the one shout out. Rushil Patel would be another shout out. So very, very, very tough start of the season for him. I think it was like 3 ducks in a row. And then now he's played two very big knocks. The scores are not big yet, but I'll probably say it right here, like he'll probably get a big score in the next upcoming games. And I believe that. And then lastly is Manav. We've already seen Manav score 100 already in the season. But I'm on that bandwagon there of the kid's got so much talent, and he's just needs to put himself in a position where he can consistently be good. And I wouldn't even doubt if in the next 5-6 years we see him being a fixture in the national team. Like that's the level of talent that we all see him have. But yeah, and it's just fun when you have a young athletic team that is like wants to win. It's a very different mindset than when I first started at Ramblers. And that's not a shot at any of the older guys that were there. It was just a very different culture than what I'm used to. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'm just very optimistic about how the season's going to go.
Yeah, no, those are a lot of really great points there. And you obviously pointed out to a number of players who have been performing really well to start off the season. You already mentioned Manav Jeet, who at the moment is second in the overall run scoring for the elite division. So obviously a lot of great talent and a lot of great performances so far. As you said, can't rest on your laurels, and a long way to go as far as the season itself is concerned. But I like that you kind of pointed out the idea of identity, because I think a big part of what, apart from what we're trying to do from a content standpoint and also from just in general a highlighting standpoint, has been that part of that idea of also being able to create that identity, both at a level of how players themselves should feel, not only about themselves and the preparation, as you kind of mentioned, about the club as a whole, but also just how players are feeling when it comes to being what a Rambler actually ends up meaning as well, right? So you mentioned from your side, you've obviously been with a couple of clubs here, have now been with the Ramblers since 2019, and have now gotten yourself kind of up to that elite level now, and obviously with the hopes of getting yourself kind of up to the top over there. So you as one of the leaders of the club and one of the leaders of the Ramblers in general is going to be absolutely paramount in kind of cultivating that identity. So in your mind now, kind of what do you consider that identity to be, especially given that we are, there's a club that's all these levels that are there. We support all the way from juniors to all the way up until masters, but at the elite level where you are trying to kind of get that highest level of performance over there, what does that identity mean both for you and just as the idea of being a Rambler and being Rambler ready, as we like to say?
Yeah. Identity is an interesting one where it's like it's something that just ebb and flows. It's something that you want to try to like hitch your ride onto. But the way that the way I've seen it is that identity kind of changes a little bit as it's supposed to. You're supposed to have some core values, but identity does like flow and it does change depending on seasons, depending on years that go by and things like that. I think that for the last couple of years, I've really seen an identity, or at least a consistency in an identity with Ramblers, and especially at the top divisions. The talent is there. The opportunities to succeed are also there. It's just that, unfortunately, and the biggest thing that I'll back in terms of what I think an identity should have as a core is consistency. And there's just been too much change in every aspect of the word, whether it's captaincies, whether it's players, whether it's winning a season or losing a season. There's just too much inconsistency that is there. And this year, we are starting to see a little bit of that consistency start to flow in. As a club, we're doing relatively well comparatively to the standings, all 6 divisions or 5 divisions. And so like that's good to see. Winning changes a lot of these things that kind of get swept under the rug when we're losing. It's just like everything gets brought to the forefront. Where it's like consistency is the first one. Second is work ethic. I think that's one thing that as a club we do need to get much better at. Everybody's very passionate to play for the Ramblers, but I think that one thing that we do need to get better at is just being a little bit more consistent, as well as just working a little bit harder than what we need to. I know we've struggled a little bit in the past of like having certain turnouts for days of practice and things like that, and it starts there. It's hard to build a gel, and it's hard to build a community when sometimes there's people absent. And so you want to feel part of something, then you got to be willing to put in something as well. But yeah, just like I'm seeing those like small buds start to form within our identity as a club, and it's good. And I think that I take very much pride in being the top division, and I think that it starts with me. I think that if my team is doing well and my guys are doing the right things, it'll trickle down to the lower divisions as well. As much as we want to say that, you know, we're a family club and we like to play for fun, and it's a little social club as well. Mm-hmm. I think 95% of us, probably higher, everybody's competitive, right? So it's like, yes, we're a social club, but we don't need to be social and lose. We could be social and win, right? And it just comes with a little bit more work that is required from us. And this is why I've stayed with Ramblers, right? There's the sense of community is really there, and the sense of support is there. So if we can just move certain things around and like look at things in a little bit different way, the whole culture will start to shift, which again, I have noticed that it has. I think management has done also a very good job over the last couple of years in terms of outreach, in terms of growing the club and getting more eyes and visibility to players and things like that, like this, for example. So yeah, I do feel like our identity is starting to form. I wouldn't say that we have an identity yet. That's just me being very honest. I think that, again, it feels like a phoenix out of the ashes. Like we're starting to pick ourselves back up. Even though we're such a historic and a prestigious club, that doesn't mean that we can't have moments of a low point. So this is where I do feel like it is a point where we're starting to come out of the ashes again. And I hear it all the time still. People think of Ramblers as a team that is maybe one to beat, or maybe one to get some runs or take some wickets. And I hate that narrative. Right. And again, it starts with me to change that at the top, because if teams don't look at us like a joke, then there's no way. There's no way that we'll stand for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as you mentioned, that aura that gets created of just anything as you're kind of consistently doing it, that changes everything. I mean, even from international level, right? You'll talk about the fact that it's usually not the magic delivery or anything else that's against that consistent pressure that's being built up for a wicket, or when you're batting out there, it's just the fact that you're constantly keeping the opposition on the back foot that ends up winning it for you. So I love to hear that. And I think you talked a lot about the leadership aspect of it from your side as well as a captain. The other, I guess, consistent and long-standing Rambler that's there with you as leadership on your elite team is Shubham, who's the other guy who's been with the Rambler since 2016, one of the most consistent performers we've had kind of from the beginning over here, and now obviously had an amazing start to the season, taking 6 for over there, and is currently, I believe, sitting at the 4th overall as far as wickets are concerned for the season as well. So, from a leadership standpoint, from having someone like that alongside you when you're kind of trying to rebuild this identity, what does that mean for you? What is kind of his role in all of this as well, and just how are things kind of working with you together?
Yeah. We'll have to add another 15-20 minutes for how much I can go on and on about how good Shubham is. He's a phenomenal cricketer. I think that at times he doesn't give himself the credit that he should definitely deserve. In my opinion, he's probably a top 5, top 10 spinner in the country, even though he's playing at the elite level. He's just been so consistent over the last couple of years that it's hard to knock a guy when he's that consistent and he's the top performer year in and year out. Mine and Shubham's relationship actually is very interesting. When I took captaincy last year, it was the first time that I had captain in about 10 years. So the last time that I was captain, I was a junior, playing at a senior level and just captaining a bunch of other juniors. When I took captaincy over here at Ramblers last year, it's very different than when you're captaining juniors to when you're captaining grown men. And so the way you got to approach things and the way you got to talk to people has to be very different. And the relationship that me and Shubham had at the start of last year, not that it was bad, it was just that he made me realize that there are certain things and certain ways that I'm saying things that are not going to always fit with everybody. Mm-hmm. And some people could look at that and be like, oh, he's challenging an authority figure, he's challenging the captain, he's changing culture, or like he's disrupting the vision that I might have. And I see it the exact opposite. If I'm not building a culture where a guy can come talk to me about something that he feels is wrong, or he feels is like we're not going in the right direction, then I've done something poorly. And from that conversation, our relationship has just gotten better. I lean on him a lot for advice on like, okay, I'm thinking this. What about this bowler? When do you think I should bowl this guy? What do you think about this batting order? So it's not just me. We don't win because I'm making the best strategies. We don't win because I have the whole game plan, everything. I'm the magician behind the scenes. It's I have a partner in crime, and a lot of the time he is the one making that right decision. I might have a thought process, and a lot of times we're on the same page. But I also like the fact that if I'm on another page, he's also on a different page, and it gives me a different perspective to kind of to look at through that lens as well. Of everything is not looked through just one side. There are other sides that you can be looking at. And again, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But the relationship that me and him have had, it has just been growing since last year. Hence why he's my vice captain. When Anis was like, you need to pick a vice captain, the first thought that came to my mind was Shubham. So, nothing but positives to say about him.
That's amazing. And I think, as you said, that trust that you kind of built up between yourself, your vice captain, and really the rest of the team, where you're trying to build up that core and that consistency of everything that's happening. That's exactly the culture that we're trying to kind of cultivate and build. Even myself, captaincy of the second division, the idea is very much the same, right? It's just about, as you said, it's managing egos, managing personalities, and everything else that goes with it, because everyone wants to win. As you said, they want to do their best, and it's frustrating when that doesn't end up happening, and trying to find ways to be able to get around that. So I know that we're already at 20 minutes here, so I know this could go on for hours and hours. There's just so much to be able to pick your brain on, but really I wanted to be able to get others within the club to get a bit of an inside look into not only your thought process, but really at the top of the tree as far as the Saga Ramblers is quality of cricket at the moment is concerned, trying to get us even higher over there, just what it takes to be successful at that level. And I think we've kind of got the basic idea here: consistency, work ethic, trust in yourself and your teammates. And I think that's the big real takeaway from this. Last thing before I let you go over here, I mean, you've been with the Ramblers for 5 years now. Would you have any kind of specific moment or a specific event that's happened in that time that you would consider like your favorite Ramblers moment, or anything that can come to mind? And I'm putting you on the spot here, but that's all right. That's half the fun.
Favorite Rambler moment. I've got a couple, so I'm going to try to narrow this down. One is very fresh. The last game that we just played against Centurions was also a very emotional game. One, because for those of you that don't know or do know Josh Shah, Josh played with us for a long time. He's a homegrown talent for Ramblers. He now plays for Centurions. He was playing against us, and we basically, just to not to go super into it, but I think we made 170, which was probably about 30, 40 runs short of what a good total on that ground would have been. We go into bowl, and the second ball of Shubham's first over goes for 6, like huge 6. And so it's like, okay, all the air gets taken out, and now we got to regroup. But this is what I'm saying, we're at this team, I can see flashes in the pan of this like fight mode, and it happened there. We took 2 quick wickets. Mihir Patel and Josh were both in within the first, I think, five overs. So it was good for us. But they came, like, we punched them and they punched us right back. Josh and Mihir batted well at times, and at times I think that we just, if we held on to our catches and like made a half chance, a full chance, we probably would have had a much easier win. But again, they started to really take the game away from us, and then that's when it really showed. Like, again, you mentioned Jeet, where me and Jeet have played cricket since we were both 12, 13 years old. So I've known Jeet for more, like, majority of my life, and he's one of those people that when the going gets tough, he puts his hand up, and like he bowled a phenomenal spell, really held the bowling together, and like we just like kept crawling back. We ended up getting Mihir. We ended up getting the rest of the other side while Josh is on the other end. And then Buddy comes in, takes Josh, and we know at this moment that we just need 2 more wickets and we got this game. It's moments like that where it's like those are Those are the good ones. Those are the ones you remember. Even though we did not play a great game, like overall, I think we all, as an 11, would agree that we probably should have played a better game. But again, like at the end of the day, you won. That's all that matters. And like you fight. That's all. That's all you can ask for. Like a close game is way more fun than a blowout.
Yeah.
So
sometimes,
yeah,
sometimes you got to win ugly, right?
Right, exactly. And 100%. You play 16 games in a season, you're not going to have every game go perfectly. You're not going to have every game go really bad either. So it's like you've got to have a little bit of in between. These guys are, the opposition is there to play as well. So it's like those are the games you really remember because of how close and how much emotion goes into it. Like I still remember like the 8th and 9th wicket. You got everybody yelling and screaming and guys hugging each other. It's like it's just good. This is what we play sports for, right? So yeah, that's probably the one that comes to mind just because it's very fresh. But there's quite a few of these like fighting moments. Because I mean, I've always been very prideful of being someone who is a fighter, and so that's the identity that I kind of want to have around my team as well, where we just like have these moments. Even though we get punched, we just take the punch and throw another one right back. But yeah.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. That's inspiring in itself. As you said, it's easy to be able to kind of stay on top when you're consistently on the team, but when the other team's on an 81-run partnership, as it was at that time, to be able to break it while defending a small total, that's absolutely a memorable moment there. So appreciate you sharing that, and I'm sure everyone listening to this will enjoy that memory as well. But hey, I'll leave it at that. Like I said, it's an opportunity for us to kind of get to know the personalities of the club, get to understand a little bit more about the thought processes that goes behind what is a long and grueling season, really, in many ways. And we haven't had the greatest weather. I think we've had nothing but crappy rain and all these like interrupted games over there. Yet, as you said, you guys are 4-2 at the moment. Long way to go in the season, but sitting at second place with 24 points. Or in fact, tied with 24 points. 3 teams right up at the top over there. So really excited to see what the elite team does. We're obviously all rooting for you guys to go all the way, get us back into that Super 9 division, and from homegrown talent, everyone who's kind of putting the work in all the way from October last year. Let's hope we can be Ramblers ready all the way to the top.
Thanks, Harris. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, we'll see you guys hopefully on the next one very soon. We'll try and get some more personalities, some more leaders within the club, and hopefully even start to get maybe some really classic stories on here as well. So definitely keep tuned in. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and we'll catch you on the next one.